Sometimes the most important crime stories are not about attacks that happened, but about the ones that were stopped just in time. Imagine spending months planning the perfect trip. You save your money, book your flights, reserve a hotel, and finally get your hands on a ticket to see one of the biggest music stars in the world perform live. You're counting down the days, your suitcase is packed, the excitement is almost impossible to contain. Then, just hours before the first concert, your phone lights up with a notification that changes everything. The concerts have been canceled due to a security threat. At first, many people assumed it was a rumor. Others believed there had been some kind of technical issue. But the truth was far more disturbing. Behind the scenes, Austrian authorities believed they had uncovered a suspected terror plot that could have placed tens of thousands of people in danger. Fortunately, no attack occurred. No lives were lost. And that's precisely why this story deserves to be told. Because while headlines often focus on crimes after they happen, this is the story of investigators racing against time to prevent one. Today, we're taking a closer look at the Vienna Terror Plot of 2024, how authorities say they uncovered the alleged plan, the arrests that followed, and the lessons learned from a case that shook Europe without a single shot being fired. This is the story of the concert that never happened. Austria is widely known as one of Europe's safest countries. Its capital, Vienna, is famous for its classical music, beautiful architecture, and rich cultural history. Every year, millions of tourists visit the city to enjoy its museums, cafes, and concerts. In the summer of 2024, Vienna was preparing for one of its biggest entertainment events of the year. 3 sold-out concerts by global pop star Taylor Swift were scheduled to take place at Ernst Happel Stadium, attracting fans from across Europe, North America, Asia, and beyond. Hotels were fully booked. Restaurants expected record business. Airports welcomed thousands of excited visitors. For many fans, attending the concert wasn't just another weekend activity. It was a dream years in the making. Some had traveled thousands of miles. Others had spent months saving for tickets. Families planned vacations around the event. Friends reunited after years apart. Everything pointed toward an unforgettable celebration. But while fans were preparing to sing along to their favorite songs, Austrian security services were quietly investigating something entirely different. Across Europe, intelligence agencies constantly monitor potential threats. Much of this work happens behind closed doors. The public rarely hears about investigations unless an arrest is made or an incident occurs. In early August 2024, Austrian authorities received intelligence suggesting that individuals influenced by violent extremist ideology might be planning an attack connected to the concerts. Officials did not immediately reveal every detail, but they considered the information serious enough to launch an urgent investigation. As officers began gathering evidence, surveillance intensified. Investigators worked around the clock. Every hour mattered. Because if the intelligence proved accurate, thousands of people could soon be gathered in one place. Large public events have long presented security challenges. Concerts, sporting events, festivals, and celebrations bring together enormous crowds. Law enforcement agencies around the world spend countless hours preparing for these occasions, not because danger is guaranteed, but because even a small threat can have enormous consequences. This case would become one of those moments. Authorities eventually focused on a 19-year-old Austrian suspect. According to investigators, the young man had allegedly become increasingly influenced by online extremist propaganda. Officials later stated that he had expressed support for the ideology of the so-called Islamic State, also known as ISIS, a terrorist organization banned in many countries. Investigators alleged that he had been communicating online, consuming extremist content, and discussing violent ideas. As with any criminal investigation, these allegations formed part of the case presented by authorities and were subject to legal proceedings. Investigators believed they needed to act before any alleged plan could move further. But one question remained. Was he acting alone? That uncertainty made the investigation even more urgent. Police soon expanded their inquiries. Search warrants were obtained. Specialized officers carried out coordinated operations. Several individuals were detained for questioning, as investigators attempted to determine whether others had any involvement. Authorities later announced that they had recovered electronic devices and materials they believed were relevant to the investigation. Officials did not disclose every operational detail, explaining that doing so could compromise ongoing inquiries. Counterterrorism investigations often rely on international cooperation. Intelligence services across Europe routinely exchange information when threats cross borders. In this case, that cooperation played an important role. Authorities credited information sharing between partner agencies with helping them understand the seriousness of the situation. It served as another reminder that modern security challenges rarely stop at national borders. As the investigation unfolded, organizers faced an impossible decision. Should the concerts continue, or should they be canceled? On one hand, canceling the shows would disappoint hundreds of thousands of fans. Many visitors had already arrived in Vienna. Flights had been booked. Hotels had been paid for. Businesses had stocked up for one of the busiest weekends of the year. On the other hand, public safety had to come first. Even if investigators believed they had disrupted the suspected plot, they could not immediately guarantee that every possible risk had been eliminated. After consultations with Austrian authorities, organizers made the difficult decision to cancel all 3 concerts. The announcement spread across social media within minutes. Disappointment quickly turned into confusion. Many fans struggled to believe what they were reading. Some cried. Others questioned whether the threat had truly been that serious. But as more information emerged, many expressed gratitude that authorities chose caution instead of taking unnecessary risks. Sometimes the safest decision is also the hardest. The cancellations had consequences far beyond disappointed fans. Hotels experienced last-minute cancellations. Restaurants lost expected business. Local tourism took a financial hit. Yet many business owners publicly supported the decision, saying that protecting lives mattered far more than protecting profits. Meanwhile, investigators continued building their case. Officials emphasized that preventing an attack is one of the greatest successes a security agency can achieve. When prevention works, the public often sees only inconvenience. The tragedy that never happened remains invisible. There are no dramatic rescue scenes, no crime scene tape, no victims, only empty seats in a stadium, and thousands of people returning home safely. The Vienna Terror Plot also highlighted another growing concern: online radicalization. Authorities across many countries have warned that extremist groups increasingly use the internet to spread propaganda, recruit followers, and encourage violence. Experts say social media, encrypted messaging platforms, and online forums can expose vulnerable individuals to dangerous ideologies. At the same time, it's important to remember that the overwhelming majority of internet users never engage in criminal activity. The challenge for investigators is identifying genuine threats without unfairly targeting innocent people. That balance between public safety and individual rights remains one of the most complex issues facing modern democracies. The investigation into the Vienna case continued after the arrests. Authorities worked to understand not only what had allegedly been planned, but also how the suspects became involved with extremist ideas in the first place. Those answers are important because preventing future attacks often depends on understanding how radicalization occurs. Counterterrorism experts frequently stress that prevention involves more than arrests. It includes education, community engagement, intelligence cooperation, and early intervention when warning signs appear. No single strategy can eliminate every threat, but every successful prevention effort can save lives. Looking back, many people remember the Vienna Terror Plot not because of violence, but because violence was prevented. Thousands of fans never got to attend the concerts they had waited months to see. Yet they were able to return home safely to their families. That outcome is something worth appreciating. Crime stories often end with investigators trying to solve a tragedy after it has already occurred. This one was different. Here, the goal was to ensure there would be no victims to mourn, and no families left asking why the warning signs had been missed. While legal proceedings and investigations continued, one fact remained clear. The decisions made by law enforcement and event organizers placed public safety above everything else. And sometimes, that is the greatest success a criminal investigation can achieve. As you reflect on this story, one question remains. If canceling a major international event can prevent even the possibility of a tragedy, is that a price worth paying? Many would argue that it is. Because while concerts can always be rescheduled, lives cannot.